So now that you know a little bit about what it means to earn a PhD in psychology, and of course I've emphasized very much on doing so at Tufts, I'd like to share some thoughts about what it's like to be in grad school. And this is important because knowing what it's like to be in graduate school will help you prepare an application that demonstrates your readiness to pursue the PhD. So first of all, what can you expect in graduate school? Well, you can expect a lot of things. Let me first emphasize the idea that, especially when you're a new graduate student, it's a period of transition and adjustment. You might be in a new city, a new state, a new country. You might have exposure to lots of new ideas, ideas that presumably drove you to apply to graduate school. You might find once you get here that the ideas change, they're in flux, your interests may shift. And of course, you have a new set of responsibilities. You may have a TA or be an RA in addition to managing your own research and your coursework. And you may have to take on some management responsibilities in your lab. You may have to mentor undergraduate students on their research projects. So overall, there are lots of challenges, and it's okay to spend some time getting settled. Certainly time management is one challenge that we all struggle with. On the one hand, your time may be scheduled for lots of things like courses and meetings and TA responsibilities. Those might have specific times that you need to be present in various places. But on the other hand, a lot of the time is unstructured. Time for research, time for writing. A lot of that is unstructured, and it can be hard to juggle all those things. So it's a bit of a balancing act. I'd just like to point out that being in graduate school means, because you need to learn how to make original contributions to knowledge, that's really the first and foremost priority being in a PhD program. So part of how you can perhaps manage the balancing act, which requires us to do many different things, wear many different hats, is to emphasize those activities that really help you obtain dedicated training in psychological science. That's why you are in graduate school. And of course, you'll have a mix of courses and research, and I'm emphasizing the idea that hopefully you will emphasize the research side of the coin, but there'll be lots of things to balance. In general, in graduate programs, you can expect to take courses that are both general in nature, but also that you'll have the opportunity to select courses that align with your research and career interests. That's certainly true of our program, and I think that's true of many other programs as well. So lots of opportunities, many things to balance, and you might find yourself wondering at times, like, how do I decide? I still wonder that, even though I've been in the field for quite a while now. And one of the things that will help you decide and figure out how to balance all these things is by working with your advisor and the other members of your lab. So as I mentioned before, we have a mentorship model at Tufts. Many PhD programs in psychology have a similar model, whereby you are admitted to work with a specific faculty member as your primary mentor and advisor. So for help with the balancing act, you can of course turn to your primary mentor. They can help you with thinking about how to balance all the things, but also how to be thinking about what career trajectory you want to take, how you're going to do certain parts of your research, how to spend your time, broadly speaking. But your advisor is not the only person from whom you can learn. You'll also have what I say here or describe here as lab mates, other graduate students who are working with the same advisor, maybe undergraduate members of the lab. You'll have lots of opportunities to learn from each other and discuss ideas. And that is some of my most fond memories have to do with exactly those kinds of conversations with other members of the lab who was working with the same advisor that I was. In most labs, there will also be regular lab meetings where people come together to discuss ideas, maybe to present research, either ideas or results, or to discuss papers that you all might be reading that are useful to think about for your research. So it's another opportunity to think about how to balance all the things and how to get as much as you can out of this experience of graduate school so that you can know how to make original contributions to knowledge. But beyond your advisor and lab, it's always a good idea to have mentors who are outside of those folks as well. And certainly at Tufts, we welcome people being mentored by many others, including other graduate students and faculty in the department. So many people are resources to those of us who are in graduate school, and I hope that you'll take advantage of that when you're in graduate school. So you have lots of people to rely on when you're in graduate school, but I think it's also important to point out that graduate school is in many ways unlike being an undergraduate. As an undergraduate, courses are sort of the main event. It's kind of the main way that you pursue knowledge and learn about your chosen field, maybe psychology or whatever that chosen field was as an undergraduate. So courses are like the main event. But in graduate school, the main event really is your research. Yes, you do take courses and you will figure out how to balance coursework with research and maybe being a TA or RA on top of that. So part of the idea of balancing everything and part of the idea of figuring out how to make original contributions to knowledge requires you to be proactive. It requires you to think ahead and take initiative on what steps you need to take along the way in your research so that you can experience that dedicated training in psychological science. So you can rely on other people like your advisor and members of the lab and other mentors, but there will always be a need for you to take initiative and to function autonomously to some degree. And of course, the expectation is that you'll grow to be more independent, more autonomous as you progress through a graduate program. Great. So that's what it's like to be a graduate student, and some thoughts about the folks that you can turn to and rely on. I'd now like to turn to what I'm calling a bit of an application workshop.